In medicine, some rules feel like they're set in stone. Until, well, they're not. Today, we're going to tackle a really big one, the long-standing ban on testosterone therapy for men who've had prostate cancer. So let's dive right in.
This right here is the central question, isn't it? I mean, for men who've beaten prostate cancer but are now dealing with all those life-draining symptoms of low testosterone, the answer has always been a flat-out no. But is that still true?
To really get why this is such a huge deal, we have to go back in time. And I mean way back to the 1940s. This is where the research started that basically created a medical dogma that's held on for more than 80 years. And there it is. The core belief was just so simple. Testosterone is like pouring fuel on a fire. The idea was that giving a man testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, after he's had prostate cancer was completely off the table. It just wasn't an option, no matter how much he was suffering. Okay, but here's where things get really, really interesting. This is all starting to change. Over the last couple of decades, a whole wave of new evidence has started to seriously challenge that old fuel on the fire idea, and it's forcing a massive shift in thinking. And this slide really shows that shift perfectly. We're moving from a simple black and white A causes B belief to a picture that's, well, a lot more nuanced. These big, recent reviews of all the evidence are showing that the link between testosterone and cancer just isn't that straightforward. So let's get into the specifics. One major review gathered up 19 different studies to see what the data actually tells us. They looked at 3 different groups of men who'd had prostate cancer: guys on active surveillance, those who'd had surgery, and those who'd had radiation. And as you can see, the outcomes were actually pretty reassuring. For these carefully selected men who were getting TRT, the rates of their cancer coming back or getting worse were low, and a lot of the time, they were no different than the guys who weren't getting the therapy at all. But, and believe me, this is a very important but, we have to pump the brakes just a little bit. This new evidence is super promising, yeah, but it is absolutely crucial that we understand its limits before we jump to any final conclusions. So here's the key thing. The evidence is good, but it's not from what we'd call the gold standard of research. See, most of these studies are retrospective, meaning they're looking backward at old data, not forward in a controlled experiment. That can create some bias, and we also just don't have that long-term data yet. And that's exactly why experts are stressing that careful patient selection and constant monitoring are absolutely essential. So what does this all boil down to? It all comes down to a new kind of conversation. This data is not a universal green light for everybody. Instead, it's a reason for some men, working closely with their doctor, to have a really detailed, personalized chat about the potential benefits for their quality of life versus the risks that we're still figuring out. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's about using new data to empower patients. So the final question isn't just about risk, it's about well-being, and whether the evidence is now strong enough to start asking some brand new questions. Thanks for tuning in.